The world is so small till it ain't. Yeah, I'm building up a wall till it break. She hate it when I call and it's late. I don't wanna keep you waiting.
All right, so here we go.
Keep you waiting.
This is the birthday shoot from our brother Lamarr. We here, man. How you feeling today?
Feeling good, man. 40 is a good age. I think it's a milestone age. So I'm happy to be here, happy to be alive, celebrate, getting wise, getting older, aging. It's the #1 goal.
Okay, so tell me what we're doing today.
So I decided to do a photo shoot, you know, put some nice clothes on, look good, feel important, get some shots and just celebrate, you know, this new year and new milestone.
Okay, so new year, 40. What does 40 mean to you?
40 is stepping into a whole nother zone, man. When I turned 30, I think I was depressed. I was scared of aging. And that's like an oxymoron because you want to age, right? You want to get older. You want to continue to live. But I think sometimes we get caught up in thinking that we haven't done enough. But we got to go back to, hey, I'm still here. And it's always a chance to do better. So I'm happy to be here. Happy to have the things that I have. Happy to have the, you know, failures that I had. I can learn from them and keep on moving forward.
Okay, so let's reflect about the decade of 30.
Yep.
What are some things you learned? What are some things you grew from? What are some accomplishments that you've made? Tell me about it.
I made a lot of mistakes in my 30s, but nothing I couldn't come back from. And, you know, business-wise, financially, personal, I think the key is to not be so, you know, hard on yourself, learn from them, take those mistakes and grow. But I also have some good things that happened in my 30s too. My kids obviously got older. Watching them grow up is probably the biggest blessing ever. Just watching my kids age, laughing, having family time. You know, I'm fully domesticated at this point, you know what I mean? And I love it. It's a great life to have, to be with my family and have those little milestones and celebrations. So 30s was good to me and I'm ready for my 40s to be just as good or even better.
Nice. All right, so tell me about this look. What we wearing?
All right, man, look, I put on something nice and upscale, but also pretty comfortable. No blazer, just nice vest, fitted shirt, matching slacks, nice cue of socks, and we threw it off a little bit with the brown hard bottoms. I like the look personally. It fits my personality. It's not too loud, but it's also not too calm. So it kind of stands out a little bit, but it also doesn't, you know, scream at you. So, you know, nice hues, proportions are pretty well, you know. So, yeah, I like it.
What about the jewelry? What are we rocking?
All right, man, we got this nice Paul Rich watch. He got a great brand of watches. He got a nice collection, whether you like silver gold, rose gold, something nice and poppy or something really dull. Nice piece. You know, I like to wear my jewelry like really subtle, so nothing crazy on the neck. A nice piece on the wrist, nice pinky ring, and then, you know, I got my wedding ring to represent my beautiful union with my wife.
Nice. So I noticed the 48 on the neck. You got some meaning behind that?
Absolutely. The 48 represents my kid's birthday. So I think God put it together just perfect. So 2 of my kids are born in April, so that's the 4, and the other 2 are born in August, that's the 8. So that's my lucky number. That's my blessed number, 48. Wherever I go, I always see that number.
Nice. So where we at? Tell me about where we at. What's the location?
This is downtown Riverside. Like any other downtown areas, you know, it's got a lot of buildings, a lot of action going on, some good views. You can see the entire city. I'm not so familiar with this area because I've only been out here for a couple of years, but I like it. I like it a lot. I like the city. Has a lot of historical value. This hotel that we're going towards right now, from what I understand, has a very nice aesthetic to it. So, you know, regardless of the weather, it just feels like it's always a beautiful spot to be at. People outside, especially during the holidays, man, like they got it decorated pretty nice. It's feeling real festive. Morning. It's nice and green out here. They got the trees. Lights out.
All right, so we just finished up 2025. Give me 3 things that you learned in 2025.
2025, I learned that it's never too late to start over. If you want to start anywhere, you probably should start on yourself. I learned that the hard way, I guess. And I learned also that your health is probably your biggest component. You never have an issue until you have a health issue. And then that's the biggest issue. So those 3 things I think I've worked on a lot during this past year. And I gotta pat myself on the back. I think I did a pretty good job learning those things and trying to take them into the new year. Obviously, health-wise, you can never be too healthy. So I've incorporated just the most simplest things, you know what I mean? Just walking more. It's good for your mind, good for your body, good for your heart. You know what I mean? I appreciate the fact that I'm able to do that.
All right, so think about some fashion tips for men. You're a very stylish individual, I must say. So what are some fashion tips that you will have for men in your age group?
I think just to start, just be comfortable in your own skin. I got some guys that I hang with who dress really loud, and although it's not my preference, it looks good on them. You can't let anybody tell you that you can't dress like that for your age. Now, obviously, I'm not walking around with my pants hanging off my waist, but when it comes to like the hues, whatever color you like, put it on your body, right? And then try something different. As far as proportions, I think when it comes to trending looks, right now we're trending towards, going back to the baggy look, but it's not just baggy for no reason. It's baggy with, texture to it. So we'll have flare pants sometimes, but they'll be tight around the waist. The tops might be, cropped, but everything is proportioned properly to your body. So I think if you find your own look and you have your own colors, you kind of mix and match those styles together. Always try to accessorize, whether it be jewelry or just nice accessories. If you like hats, get some hats that you like and just put it together. I think if you start getting dressed more and more and just start putting together looks, you'll figure out your look. And, if you're confident in that, then you'll feel good.
All right, so we starting a new year, 2026. What are some things you want to see differently happen this year?
This year, it's kind of cliche to say I want to make more money. I think that's always the goal. So rather than talk about how much money I want to make, I want to learn money a little bit more. I want to be intentional about knowledge when it comes to finances, when it comes to business, and things like that. I want to really dive into, learning myself more. And so, I've been doing therapy all last year. It's been great. I went through 2 therapists, and they've been pretty good. And so, I want to be mindful. Being mindful is really just appreciating the moment. And so going through this year, I want to make sure that, I have these goals set, right? And if I don't hit those goals, it's not a failure. It's just, okay, I set that goal pretty high. Either I hit it or I didn't. But the ones that I did hit, I want to make sure that, you kind of pat yourself on the back for those and acknowledge that, hey, I set something out and I got it. I think a lot of times when we accomplish something, it gives us this confidence. And that confidence can push you into a direction of, all right, I got that out the way. Let's see what else I can do. And I wanna make sure I can properly, get that ball rolling to make sure that the goals that I set and I hit, cool, now let's see what else we can do.
All right, so it's been quite the day today. We've enjoyed this time of reflection of the year and
absolutely,
got some nice looks.
Yep.
Got a new look right here.
Yeah, casual.
Mm-hmm.
I went for, a modern look, proportions exaggerated. So, you got the big flary pants, got the platform type shoes, the big cardigan, but a nice fitting tee. So it's all about proportions. And then once again, the hues, very simple, black, white, and then you throw a little off-white in there. I love the color black. So usually I try to stay away from wearing too much black because then you get off the gothic look. And I'm not gothic at all. So I like browns, I like tans, I like off-whites. Every now and then I might have a yellow or a pink, but I kind of stay to my comfortable hues. So this look I put together, I really like it a lot. Like I said, the proportions and the hues kind of accentuate the look.
All right, so there's some important topics that I want to cover before we wrap this up. And I think as men, you know, it's important that we think deeply about spiritual life and we focus a lot on our physical well-being, our mental health. But let's talk a little bit about spiritual. What would you say, how would you describe your spiritual life right now?
My spiritual life has been really good, actually. Last year, I set out a goal to find a church since we moved out this way. And I want to say the first 6 months, we weren't intentional on trying to find a church home. But then, you know, we had to get back to, hey, all right, what did we say we were going to do this year? And we ended up finding a church home. And that church has been good to us. I like the word, the worship is great. And when you find a church home, it kind of puts you in a place of, okay, you can't just do the work at church. You got to do the work at home too. So I've opened up my Bible more times this year or last year than I have in my entire life. And I'm very proud of that because I'm starting to see the reflections happen in real time in life. Just dealing with some of the things I've been struggling with, going after the things that I want to have. And so my spiritual life is very strong right now. And I want to keep that going into the new year and also next year as well.
Okay. What have you learned about being a father?
Being a father, if I was talking to somebody who was going to be a father, 90% of being a father is just being there, right? You're going to try to punish yourself for not doing enough, not being able to provide. And if you love your kids, you will find a way to get that stuff done. But the thing that you can do is just be there. Pay attention, listen, give advice, show up, and the rest will fall in place. If you need more money, it'll happen. But just being intentional about being in your child's life, being present, is the best thing that you can do because you're gonna love these little people, right? There's no choice but to love on these people that you created. So start with love, give them presence, and the rest will fall into place. So be there.
And on the other token, what have you learned about marriage?
Okay. So, well, when it comes to marriage, I think it's kind of just like being a father a bit. You got to be in the moment. You got to be present, right? Your wife, your partner is your partner. Like they should have your back. You should have theirs. The best thing that you can do is learn how to communicate properly. If you can't communicate with your spouse, you're gonna have a lot of issues, right? So 90% of the problems you're gonna have is not being able to communicate. You know, you're gonna have certain things that you're gonna go through on your own, but you gotta communicate that to your spouse. If you can do that, half of your problems are already gone. Now, obviously you got loyalty, you got responsibility, you got protection. You wanna do all those things as well. But I think communication is probably the biggest thing that if you can get that part right, you got half the battle.
Bitches love the grind.
Oh, wait, shit.
All right, so earlier you mentioned that you're in therapy. You know, there is a, think about men in therapy or Black people in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's some type of shame that comes along with it that I hope that we can continue to dismantle. So what's your thoughts about it? What have you experienced in it? What has been your feelings on Black men or just men in general in therapy?
I think therapy is like a luxury, honestly. If you're able to have therapy, I think you should absolutely do it. A lot of times, the word is shrink. You got to shrink. That means something's wrong with you. And I personally think even if you have everything going well for you, it's awesome to have somebody talk to about it, right? So, maybe you don't have any trauma. That's awesome. But you got a lot of thoughts in your head. It's great to get those thoughts out, have somebody else hear you. They can give you some feedback on it. And then the opposite of that is maybe you do have traumas and you don't know how to deal with it. A professional can hear what you're saying and tell you some of the ways you can cope with those things. I had 2 therapists last year. My first therapist probably wasn't the best fit, but I still got some things from that therapist. And he allowed me to just really talk. So I did a lot of talking. And it like just talking and hearing yourself say certain things, you learn from that. You're like, wow, I didn't know that was in me until I heard it out loud. And then my second therapist, we talk, equally. So I'll talk a lot. He'll give me a lot of feedback. He'll tell me some of the things that I should do, some of the things I shouldn't do. He'll ask me a lot of questions about why I did what I did. And it kind of like breaks down, like he answers my questions without even answering my questions. So I would compare having a therapist to having a personal trainer, right? You want your physical body to be strong, and you need somebody sometimes to hold you accountable. You need your mental to be strong as well, and you need somebody to hold you accountable. It's kind of the same thing. So it shouldn't be shrugged off to have a therapist.
Nice. It's good advice. Good advice. All right, self-care. Self-care is a major thing that I think all men should take serious. What are some self-care tips you want to provide for us today?
Self-care for me looks like gym, reading, a lot of alone time, and hobbies. So, my therapist asks me every single week, the first thing he asks me, how's your self-care been? Sometimes self-care can look like a chore. Sometimes self-care can look like recess. And so top of the line is, how are you with your caffeine? I really enjoy caffeine. I like coffee. I like my pre-workouts. And so I have to make sure I kind of have a healthy balance of, all right, I want to be caffeinated today. But if I've been caffeinated all week, let's take a week off. You don't want to be jittery. You don't want to be, too excited some days. You want to be able to focus. And so self-care top of the list is, are you managing your intake of caffeine and foods well? Self-care, obviously. The second point is, how are you managing your time for yourself, right? You do a lot of things. You're a father, you're a husband, you're an employee, you're a friend, and you kind of give your time to a lot of things, a lot of people. You want to make sure you have your time to yourself as well. So a lot of times I have to debrief sometimes. And so lately I've been doing a regimen of trying to make sure I go on these 20-minute, maybe 30-minute walks. And during those times, I'm gonna walk and either I'm gonna just unplug from the world, or I'm gonna listen to some real soft tones, because we consume so much daily, whether it be podcasts, whether it be books, whether it be TV. You wanna kind of unplug for a moment and just really be mindful of your surroundings. I love going outside when it's sunny. I love going outside when it's cloudy, when it's gloomy, and just appreciating nature, right? So you got 20 minutes to walk. Let's get this walk in, and just listen to your own thoughts. That's self-care regimen part 2. And then part 3 is, what are you interested in? What kind of hobby do you like? Me personally, I love cigars. So once a month, twice a month, go to the cigar lounge, take a book with me. I'll have a cigar, watch some TV, maybe have a book, read a book, and just enjoy that time. Having a cigar kind of slows down things. A cigar is meant to be enjoyed over an hour or 2 hours. You can't rush through it, right? And there are certain health things that come with cigars, but everything's in moderation. So I'm not taking advantage of trying to have a cigar every week, every day, but it's a hobby of mine. I enjoy it, and it's part of my self-care regimen. So self-care has been really intentional over the past 6 months, and I plan on keeping it going. Hey man, I had a great day today. We did some great shoots. I saw some samples of how the look's coming out. Great job. The weather turned out to be perfect. We had rain on the radar, but God let it be beautiful. Had a little sunlight coming through, nice and cloudy, but nature's always gonna show up when it's time. I'm excited for the year. I'm excited to turn 40. Birthday's coming up in a couple of days. I'm super grown. I'm super happy, super excited, and super positive about change that's coming. I'm in a good season in my life right now, and I'm ready for the changes. I appreciate you for shooting this for me, and shout out to ShotByLG. Appreciate it.